the scoring star tonight for the Texans. He scored first. He scored last. He scored in the middle was Joe Mixon. You've already heard with him as he was here on the set with me. C.J. Stroud, the man under center for Houston, visited with Lisa Salters after the Texans' 24-point road win here over Dallas.
CJ, D'Amico Ryans talked about the importance of getting back to winning football tonight. Just what felt better in this game?
First, I just want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Without him, I'm nothing. Without him, I want to be out here. He's just been he's put all this talent in me and on this team and put guys together that are believers. So, we're just so thankful for these opportunities to come out here and play for him. But yeah, man, we've been losing, lost 2 straight games we really should have won, really 3. And when you have outside noise, you need to really just come in as a team and lock in together. And that's what we created. We created more of a brotherhood. So we seen who was really with us and who wasn't. And from there, we just took off and stayed a brotherhood and, worked really hard at practice and, got on the winning side today.
What changes with Nico Collins back?
A lot. He's a vertical threat. He's a short threat. And that guy's pretty good, too. So, when you have a running attack, a passing attack, it's hard to be stopped. So, to make my job easy.
And you talked about that guy, Joe Mixon. He just has continued to produce for you guys all season long. I know he's been a mentor for you on and off the field. 3 touchdowns tonight. Just what impact has he had on this team?
Huge, and it's just not what he does here on Sunday or on game day. It's all about what he does during the week. He works the hardest. Me and him always talk about, setting a standard. And that standard we've been setting, it's caused us to practice really good and come out here. We just had to play 4 quarters of football. And that was his thing during halftime was, stay juiced up, stay ready. Came out here, got the dub. So, man, he's really huge to all the wins we get.
CJ, thank you. Congrats on the win.
Thank you. God bless.
So the victory for the road team, that means Mike McCarthy on the wrong end of it. He was asked about this most recent loss and about the future.
How do you explain? Can you explain any of this, or
explain it?
Yeah, any kind of loss.
I think the reality it's very frustrating. It's frustrating for everybody. Frustrating for the players. Frustrating for the coaches. I know it's it's disappointing for the fans. But we have a lot of moving parts going on, and we just have to be cleaner and more detailed in certain spots. We're not playing well enough, or, execute well enough, coaching well enough to overcome some of the mistakes we're making at critical times in the game. So, just go, even in the first half, we had some opportunities there to get some more points and didn't get it done. We just have to play cleaner in these tight spots, and we did not do that tonight.
Making coaching changes during the year, but we've seen a couple of teams do that this year. Do you ever see any wisdom in a change of voices in there coming from the top?
Well, I have made a change, and I've never I've made a change early and on a coach with Shane Gailey, and I've always regretted that. And I've made a change during the season. And so that's the music I'm listening to.
But respectfully, some of these things haven't changed, and so does that show a respect, or that you're listening to the voices? I mean, we're still seeing 12 men on the field. We're seeing the penalties. We're seeing a lack of tackling.
What's respectful or not respectful about that? That's not being respectful or not respectful. It's not disrespect to have more guys on the field or jumping off sides or getting a late hit. That's disrespectful, or disrespect has no place in that. And I'm not taking issue with it.
No, I hear you. It's just, I'm saying.
Respect, no respect. I think everybody knows what's going to happen here, right?
Yes.
I mean, we're all grown-ups.
Yeah, and I think when you look at Mike McCarthy, he understands that too. But the one thing I did love about tonight was this team fought, and we talked about it at halftime. Sometimes you just don't have the guys. You just don't have the execution. They got behind, and they could have packed it in, and I don't feel like this team quit.
No, they didn't, and then it's one in it just madness where the ball gets knocked out, it gets scooped up, it gets knocked out again, and then you end up with a touchdown, and that's pretty much lights out. The tone was set, though, early on in a night where C.J. Stroud didn't have to be great because Joe Mixon was. When you look at the tape, what are you going to point out?
So I want to talk about Joe Mixon being prevalent in the run game and the pass game in the first half. Here's going to be one of the early runs. And Joe Mixon is going to start front side here. The play is going to get stopped, so he's going to cut it back in between the tackles. But I want you to watch Tank Dell as he gets upfield, and he's going to seal Malik Hooker.
Hold up, the littlest dude out there?
The littlest dude out there, Mr. 150.
Love
and
it.
So as you see the play get up the field here, now Tank Dell's going to move, right? So when Tank Dell gets here, when you see him, Joe Mixon is now coming through the hole right here. Tank Dell is going to get up on Malik Hooker, which is going to allow Joe Mixon to press him and then get up the field. Now, as you watch this is how you get plays made on the second level. Joe Mixon cuts right off of Tank Dell's butt and watch him explode and then get into the end zone. Now, the pass play was something I loved because they start with the play action to Joe Mixon. CJ Stroud comes out here. You're going to get the play action. After the play action, he's going to leak here to the flat, and he's going to get two blockers in front of him that get him started on this screen pass. Joe Mixon is going to attract all the attention, but after the play action pass, you're expecting CJ Stroud to try to push the football down the field. Look at all the defenders getting upfield in their zone. But I want to show you something once again. As they get down the field, let's watch John Mechie. Let's watch another lineman down the field. As they get their blocks, that allows Joe Mixon to get here and then cut up and gain extra yardage. This is the team that understands what they're trying to accomplish, a team that understands they have a guy that can take it all the way anytime he touches the football. And when you want to help your young quarterback, you get a running back like Joe Mixon. You sign him to an extension. Leadership on and off the field, but it's been production every game day.
2 grabs for 44 yards, so all told over 150 scrimmage yards for Mixon in this game. Now, it's crazy, speaking of disrespect, to put it this way, but this felt like the beginning of a get-right stretch for Houston.
Yeah.
And I understand that they're reeling a little bit. Joe Mixon talked about shutting the doors, taking the coaches out, and saying after they lost to the Jets in Detroit, whatever they needed to button up. All right, we got a chance here against a Cowboy team that's reeling and then a couple division opponents that aren't very good. But looking down the road, I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked Joe and Troy. We know who the top of the AFC is.
Yes.
This is a playoff team. But are they a playoff team that is capable of adding to what they did last year? They won a game last year. Could they double that this year?
So, to me, they're a playoff team that have the pieces to do that. They aren't a playoff team that's executing at this point enough to be able to compete, to me, with the Buffaloes, the Pittsburgh Steelers, Kansas City Chiefs, and the Baltimore Ravens.
That's fair, but if we think about the guys they don't currently have that get healthy, I'm not trying to argue here, but I think a case can be made that when they're right and they're whole on that defensive side of the ball, maybe it's more than just a puncher's chance.
Yeah, exactly.
We agree.
No, exactly. I don't think you're arguing. I think you're making the correct point. That's why these 3 games are so important as well, Scott. Tonight was important to get it going, right? To get it started, to get that win. But even in talking to CJ before I came up here on stage, he said, RC, we're not just executing for tonight. We have to execute our very best, play to our potential if we want to compete with the teams down the road as well.
And I'm not telling you this, you lived it, but I think what we know the best teams do, look what Detroit does against the Jacksonville team that's struggling.
Yes.
They beat the absolute brakes off of them, as opposed to teams that mess around and manage to let teams hang around or even lose games like that.
Think about this. The Baltimore Ravens have lost 2 games
to the Raiders and the Browns.
Exactly.
So these are games, and then, so they got this one, but don't mess around and lose to the Titans or the Jaguars if you're the Texans going into your bye. Got to get both of those.
Yes, absolutely. You have to get both of those because it continues the dominance within the AFC South. But these are teams that are reeling. You can't allow them to hang around, and you have to start to show that you have that knockout punch. This is supposed to be the year where the Houston Texans ascended into the top tier of AFC teams. And when you have the low, like you said, missing some of those players, you have to prove it to yourself before you prove it to the world.
Yeah, but they're not going to sneak up on anybody. Last year it was kind of quiet, and then everybody was like, whoa, these guys are good. This year everybody knew it, and they get the win tonight by 24. Ryan, I appreciate you.
Thank you, brother.
As always. As we continue, more on the Texans' 24-point road victory here, as they have a couple of divisional games before their bye.